Good. Good evening. Welcome to the Red Hook Town Board meeting of September 28th, 2016. Would you be kind enough to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. We have a fairly lengthy agenda this evening. Let's see how we make out getting through it. We have just a few announcements we'd like to let you know. First of all, to remind folks, we have some community events. Miles for Mac is coming up on October 8th over at Mill Road School in the morning. We informed you of that last time. There's also the annual Northern Duchess Crop Hunger Walk, which is scheduled for, where is it, Sarah? October 23rd, and beginning at 1 p.m. That's a Sunday, beginning at Mill Road, and it's to benefit some of the food banks in our area. We have, if you're not familiar, we have food banks here at United Methodist, St. Chris, St. John's Reformed in Tivoli, and St. Paul Episcopal, Rhinebeck Church of the Messiah, Rhinebeck Reformed Church. These food pantries serve over 200 families. We have also a word from New York State Department of Transportation. Some of you who take the Taconic may already have noticed in Putnam County and Westchester County that all of the signs at the exits are being replaced. It's a 2-year process. The signs in Dutchess County are scheduled to be replaced next year in the spring and summer, and they want to advise you of that occurring. We also have Dutchess County Division of Solid Waste Management is letting us know that the Household Hazardous Waste Disposal and Electronics Recycling event is scheduled for Saturday, October 29th. It's from 8 a.m. to 1:30. It's being held at their Resource Recovery Agency property at 96 Sand Dock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. You can get more information and certainly to register online. There's a $10 fee, by the way, for disposing of this type of waste. And the website, we'll put this up on our website, but their website to register is duchessny.gov solid waste. And I also want to let you know, for those of you who live in Tivoli, the very popular street painting festival is scheduled for Saturday morning. I see by the weather forecast that there is a chance that it may need to be rescheduled, in which case it might either be on Sunday or the following weekend. We'll see how Mother Nature cooperates or not. Are there any other announcements? Sarah, no? Harry, Jim?
No.
Okay, Sue McCann has one thing.
This is a news brief that the Water Department sent out September 20th, and it's the Town of Red Hook Water District Number 1 has scheduled partial hydrant flushing, and that's the dead ends only, for Tuesday, October 11th, 2016. The flushing will be done between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Some temporary discoloration or turbidity may be observed in parts of the district during the day. Should conditions persist more than 24 hours, it's normal, but if it persists more than 24 hours, please contact the systems operator, VRI Environmental Services, and their emergency number is 845-677-3839. So that's hydrant flushing on October 11th.
Terrific. Thank you, Sue. And if you give that to Linda, I'll ask her to email that around and we'll put it on the town website as well.
It might be on there already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. Very good. All right. We have public comment period. If there is somebody who would like to comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll go right into our agenda items. Number 1, we have our highway superintendent with us this evening. Thank you, Teresa, as always. There's a department request to go out to bid for materials 2017. You have in your packet a memo from Teresa to that effect, that the highway department is preparing to go to bid for our materials. She's requesting town board authorization to bid for hot mix asphalt, all types, abrasives, all types, cold mix patch, stone dust. Item 4, screen fill, riprap, crushed stone, wash gravel, topsoil, boom truck and operator for tree removal, and trucking for crushed stone and abrasive sand. Teresa, anything you want to say, or does it sort of speak for itself?
Speaks for itself.
Okay. Very good. Well, we have a resolution. This is sort of a standard practice. And we have resolution number
83.
83. Thank you, Sue. Harry, would you like to read this one?
Sure.
Since you're our highway liaison.
The resolution number 83, was that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Dated September 28th of 16. Resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise a request for sealed bids for the purchase of ice control abrasives, a request for sealed bids for hot mix asphalt, and a request for proposals for various materials and services for 2017. Whereas the highway superintendent of the town of Red Hook has requested that the town proceed with advertising for highway materials and services required for 2017, including request for sealed bids for ice control abrasives, sealed bids for hot mix asphalt, and request for proposals for various materials and services, in each case pursuant to specifications substantially in the form on file with the town clerk. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Red Hook does hereby authorize and direct the town clerk to advertise for a request for sealed bids and a request for proposals as directed by the highway superintendent in accordance with the following specifications. And I so move.
Second. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Jim. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you again, Teresa. Item number 2 is a resolution authorizing Justice Court grant to pursue an application. It's a funding application for several items, or the potential for several items, to enhance our communication, safety, and security within the courtroom here and within the offices just to the rear of where we're sitting right now, including in this application. There are some funds for a large smart screen there so that we can better communicate to you and show you, both at home and if you're in the audience, what we're looking at, and certainly with our other boards, our planning board, so on and so forth, you'll be able to actually see what they're discussing, see what we're talking about in real time if you're in the audience, and hopefully have a better idea of what we're up to. So we have a resolution authorizing the town of Red Hook to pursue a grant application to obtain funding for the town of Red Hook Justice Court. Sarah, would you mind reading this one?
Sure, this is
Okay.
Town of Red Hook Resolution Number 84. A resolution authorizing the Town of Red Hook to pursue a grant application to obtain funding for the Town of Red Hook Justice Court. Whereas the Town Board has determined that the Town of Red Hook Justice Court is in need of certain equipment that will ensure that the Town of Red Hook provides appropriate mechanisms and ancillary apparatus to the town justices and the court clerks, as well as all personnel and individuals who have business before the Town of Red Hook Justice Court. And whereas the Town Board has been advised by Town Justices Jeffrey C. Martin and Jonah Treebosser that there might be available certain grant monies from the New York State Justice Court Assistance Grant, which might enable the town to obtain certain revenues to help fund the purchase of certain mechanisms and ancillary apparatus for the Town of Red Hook Justice Court. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook as follows. The town board authorizes the Honorable Jeffrey C. Martin and the Honorable Jonah Treebosser, town justices, to make application for the 2016 Justice Court Assistance Grant, requesting funds not to exceed $30,000 to help defray justice court costs, including the purchase of certain items necessary for the court use. And the town board authorizes the town justices to take whatever steps which are necessary in order to pursue and hopefully secure any grant monies not to exceed $30,000, which might be available through the 2016 Justice Court Assistance Program grant, and any grant monies derived therefrom. And I so move.
And that is resolution number 84. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. Moving on to item number 3. It's an approval of Capital Markets Financial Advisory Services Agreement. We've been advised by the firm that we use to give us advice with our bonding, that the SEC requires that we have this agreement in place. And Chris, did you want to add anything to that?
So this firm is a registered municipal financial advisor. They are now required to, these types of firms that give you advice about the bond issues are required to be registered with the MSIB, which this firm is. That's used as probably the last time that you entered into an agreement.
Okay. Okay, very good. It's a very short resolution, and it states resolution number 85, authorizing the execution of a financial advisory services agreement. And I'm wondering, Jim, would you be kind enough to read it?
Certainly. Authorizing the execution of a financial advisory services agreement between the Town of Red Hook and Capital Markets Advisors, LLC. Whereas the Town of Red Hook, Dutchess County, New York, the town, is considering entering into a financial advisory services agreement with Capital Markets Advisors, LLC, for financial advisory services for the period October 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2017, and with such terms as further provided in the agreement on file with the town clerk. And whereas such agreement is hereby determined to be in the best interest of the town, now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Red Hook as follows. 1, the supervisor, or in his absence the deputy supervisor, is hereby authorized and directed to execute the agreement with Capital Markets Advisors, LLC, on the terms and conditions set forth herein. Such agreement shall be in substantially the form on file with the town clerk, with such changes as may be approved by the officer executing such agreement and which do not materially affect the substance therefore. This resolution will take effect immediately. So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Now, I just wanted to ask Chris, now, this is a firm we have been using,
It is.
correct?
It is the firm that you've been using. It's Beth Ferguson, who's been
What?
advising the town for some time. And they do two things. They provide advice to certain issues when you want to go out to the market. They help you structure that, help you go to Moody's, help you do that, the financial side of the bond issues. And also, which is very important, they provide assistance with complying with your continuing disclosure obligations. You have to continue to tell bondholders what's going on with you when you sell bonds in the public market. You have to do periodic and annual disclosures. So they work with you to make sure that you stay in compliance with those requirements. So it's important to have this kind of an agreement in place with a financial advisory firm.
And these are basically the same fees that we have been paying with them? Because we just haven't had a discussion of the different fees, that's why I'm bringing it up at this time.
I don't have the old agreement. I don't know if they, whether they gave you an increase when you sent it in.
No? No, these are the fees. My recollection, these are the fees that
That you have them
we have been paying. I think we did negotiate a little bit less on our last bond offer.
on a case by case.
On a case by case.
Right.
We always try and work a lower fee when we can. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved, thank you very much. We're now at item number 4. Item number 4 being a request from the Red Hook Central School District. As you know, we recently completed a renewal of the shared service agreement with the schools. There's a sharing of facilities, athletic facilities, which the schools utilize to a larger degree the town's facilities, and so they share in the cost of the upkeep of that. We have made a determination this year that it's important for us to do a complete redo of the tennis courts because they've reached a level of disrepair, and patching won't solve the problem. And the school has asked for an adjustment in the fees that they are paying us because they've had to relocate the tennis teams over to Bard, and Bard is obviously going to have to assess a fee for their facilities. So they've made a request, which seems to be about what we calculated just a couple of months ago, of what we should be charging them for the use of the town's tennis courts. Approximately $3,000, looking back at a sheet that Sarah developed with the folks in the school district. So you have that communication, you have the photos of the condition of the tennis court. I know sort of firsthand, and through some of our residents, they're eager for us to have these courts redone, which we are planning to do next year. And you can only do it in the summertime, just so folks are aware of the restraints that we have. Is there any questions about this? Does that seem like an appropriate response for us to grant them a credit?
And where is our response?
Well, we haven't made a response yet,
Mhm.
Harry. That's what
That's what
we're
we're
talking about now, is what would we like our response to be?
So we want to respond to their request that we reduce their fee by $3,000, is that what?
Yes, they're asking us to consider a reduction since they've had to relocate. The whole idea is they're using our tennis courts and they're paying for it, and this year they couldn't use them because they're in.
And that is, the $3,000 is based on the fee that board will be charging them, which is $3,000, is that?
That's right. They're going to be charging them $3,000. We also looked at what we were asking from them for the use of the tennis courts each year, and there was an hourly lease expectation and the maintenance fee associated with the tennis courts, and then a portion that was used by the school districts.
So what Robert was saying before was that when we first received the letter and they requested the $3,000, I looked at our spreadsheet to see what had we expected. If they were only renting the tennis courts from us, what would we be charging? And we actually expected to charge just slightly over $3,000, $3,131. And that's based on a bunch of different factors that I can explain if you want, but you can see the spreadsheet here, right?
I don't see where the $3,000.
It's down, okay, it's under all tennis.
Yeah.
And then do you see the bolded maintenance fee? And then go across to all tennis.
So 3131 number, Harry?
So it's based on the assessed value of the facility, in this case the tennis courts, how much of the year they use the tennis courts, like what hourly amount, what a municipality like ourselves would expect to recoup for leasing a tennis court for the amount of time per year that you could lease one. And then a factor of our maintenance costs and capital costs for replacing those over time. So I'm happy just in the sense that now seeing the BART invoice for about $3,000, when we came up with this formula, it was very difficult to find comparable facilities to figure out if our price was fair, but we were fairly confident that it was. So I feel happy that, it looks like that bore out. So, whether we choose to accept it is a whole nother question, but I'm pleased about that.
Now, our intention is to repair these cracks, which ultimately I would submit will be a superficial repair. We will not resurface the tennis court.
No, we are, Harry. Remember, we went out to apply for some of that member item grant that we had from Albany towards that, with the understanding that we'll have to bond or appropriate some funds to do a complete redo of the tennis courts, because the rec commission has determined that we would just be wasting money by trying to patch it. It's going to come back, and you can see by the extensiveness of the cracks themselves that.
Well, in conversations I've had, it's used casually by our own population, and I've been told that they're quite happy with it being repaired and the cracks repaired and at kind of annual intervals. It's adequate for casual play, which is what it is really only used for, and the cost, and we can practically do that ourselves at little or no cost.
But it's not really cost effective. It costs about $6,000 to do those repairs every 2 or 3 years. That's what John Kuhn has sent us multiple reports on that. He went out to do an estimate of it this year because he understood that we might need to make that repair this year because the cracks are that bad. When I was out looking at the courts after we received this letter, I noticed that somebody came to play tennis, and sure enough, they went to the one spot. There's 4 courts. They went to the one court that doesn't have significant cracks. So people who are using the facility regularly are aware of the cracks, and they're trying to avoid them as much as possible,
Okay.
even casual users.
But
And
we
it's
can
a
fix
very-
the cracks for
minimal
cost.
So we can keep spending $6,000 every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Or we can spend about $100,000, which is what he has also found an estimate for, to resurface the whole thing.
I'm aware of that estimate.
And it would be great if somebody wanted to do a spreadsheet showing us over a decade or 2 decades, what the cost benefit is to that. But I think we've agreed, and I think you were there for this vote, but maybe not.
I'm not sure.
You might not have
Harry
been.
was. I'm not sure. You might
that
have been out
we-
that month or two.
We felt that it was appropriate to try to, apply some of that quote-unquote free grant money toward that cost, which would then make the town's cost even less than the $100,000, that it was worth it over time.
Yeah, we did make that determination that we're going to do a complete resurfacing, and it was based upon the rec commission's analysis, and they believe there's some engineering problems with the way the courts are right now, that they're holding water, which is why we're getting, you can see some of the cracks here.
Yeah, that the drainage isn't.
The drainage isn't proper, that we need to do. design
Having
it
looked
with
in it-
gentle slope for sheet drainage.
Having
so that it
looked
doesn't-
into it with the recreation group and whatever, there's a problem with where the water slides, comes down off that hill. We would have to make major changes to this, and 100,000 may be a minimal number to do that kind of repair. And that's, this isn't a tournament quality court, so I think it could be extremely expensive. I think we should be very careful about how much we put into it.
I guess on the flip side, I would just say that Because we do lease it to the school, and hey, it'd be nice to be able to lease it to other people too, which we could easily do since they only really use it for a limited period of time. I think it benefits the town if we have a great facility that's really nice for residents, which is really its, its true and main purpose, but is also playable for people who, groups that want to lease the facility, which, especially if we could get more than just the school to lease it, could be to our benefit over time.
Well, I understand that, but, we have a lease agreement with the school because the school doesn't have, the ball fields and the tennis court themselves. And in my opinion, they get the use of all those facilities, therefore, our facility is blocked out from the general population during that time at their $15,000 a year, which is very cheap. And now we're talking about resurfacing, possibly a curtain drain, who knows, for our tennis courts at $100,000 plus.
Yeah.
And the fact that they utilize it, I'm kind of astounded that they're asking for $3,000 back in my mind, to be perfectly honest with you, because there's no way, they could even think of putting a tennis court in or utilizing something for anywhere close to that. It would cost them a lot more than $100,000 to develop one somewhere.
So if
as we repaired it, okay, you save $6,000 every few years, but,
But so if that.
6 times 15, there's your $100,000 too.
So but if the intermunicipal agreement is based on the idea that the facilities that we outlined in that agreement are available to them, and then one of the facilities isn't available for some reason, like, a catastrophic storm occurs and the baseball fields aren't usable.
At the time they signed this agreement with us, the tennis courts looked exactly as they do today.
And they've been using them like
And they
this for
haven't used
years.
And,
Well, they were just
we as a town have been
repaired 2
very
years
prudent
ago.
in the maintenance and the upkeep of our rec park. For many years at no cost to the school district. And the only reason we ask is because we like to have a good rec park and we want to make it as reasonable for all town residents as we possibly can. So, as I said, I'm a little surprised at balking at the $3,000 and asking for a reduction in it. And the reason we split the agreement up is just because of the battle with them at the last time, when we renegotiated that contract this year.
I'm afraid
So-
to jump in these
No,
waters, but.
I'm just giving you my opinion.
Right, no, I
obviously.
understand. On a rare occasion, I can do a little R&R. I get out and play tennis, which I've done maybe 3 times this year. The cracks are much worse this year than they've ever been. And if you notice the crack, the one very large one, and for the public's edification, when we're talking about cracks, we're not talking about a little crack in the road. We're talking about gaps. And, that with.
Yeah, it's a
in this-
quarter inch, quarter 3/8 of an inch.
I mean, you
Right,
can't play
right.
competitive
You can't-
tennis on those
well,
courts.
No.
They're
Well,
uneven and they're
the question is
cracked.
whether
and-
it's
I
safe.
wouldn't
liability
even argue
friendly.
that point.
Yeah, and I do think that it's essentially almost like a landlord-tenant relationship here. We said we will charge you X amount of dollars based upon a spreadsheet, and the tennis portion is about $3,000 a year, but we haven't kept our end of the bargain, so I would feel obligated. I think in a way we should count our blessings because there was another facility available for them to go to. And we have the opportunity, we're getting $25,000, if all goes well, from this, a member item from Albany to put towards it. So, I don't know, I feel like we should credit them for this.
Oh, as a good landlord-tenant relationship, and I with them, I'd say, hey, town, tennis courts are rough. And I understand that, and I understand what it's gonna cost to build it, I understand that we don't have it, so you resurface them and redo them next year, then we'll budget and we'll be willing to give you $25,000 towards the tennis courts and help keep them up.
Let them do
Yeah,
the tennis
instead though, you have to look at it from both sides. Instead, they've
Right.
battled us at a contribution to the rec park at all, as we very well know with our municipal contracts the last 3 years.
And if they need the top drawer tennis courts, it might be wise for them to build them on the school property and maintain them
It
at
would be
top.
wiser for them to just to
Well-
go to BART every year is what it
Well,
would be wise to do. If I was with the school, that's probably what I would do, because we
But-
can't guarantee
and-
that we'll have crack-free courts. I mean, I'm just being honest with you.
We
If
can.
I was a tennis
That's true.
coach, that's what I would do.
And
In which case, we're out $3,000 every year.
Hang-
So, you
hang
know,
on, hang
I don't
on,
know.
Hang
It-
on here, Harry, I appreciate it, but we can't start talking about they should go to a different, we've just negotiated a 5-year agreement with the Red Hook Central School District, so we can't be saying, oh, well, they should just go to some other place, or they should do this. We sat down, we came to some sort of happy compromise supposedly, or in this case, maybe nobody was happy compromise, and we made a commitment. So I
And,
think we
and
need to-
they're asking for a change in that agreement.
Well, no,
And-
I don't
and the
think
agreement-
so.
The agreement,
Harry, I think what they're saying is, look at your end of the commitment, you're to provide a service and a facility. Your facility is not safe or adequate to play on. I mean, you look at that gorge that's going there diagonally through the one tennis court. I don't think we want,
I understand your
folks on-
perspective, Robert, but at the time they made that agreement with us, the surface of the tennis courts has not changed.
Well,
Yeah, but
they-
our
they did bring up
obligation
the
is our
cracks.
obligation, whether.
They
you
did
know,
bring up
it's
the
like-
cracks during the negotiation,
Yeah.
and what I said was the town is considering patching or
Right.
redoing it. We don't have an answer right now, but it's a 5-year agreement, so, you know, for us and for them, it made more sense to talk about what's the entire use that they are gonna need over that 5-year period and that we can provide. And so there is no mechanism in the IMA for dealing with this situation. It's just left up to us to talk about it, party to party, and work it out. Or we can give, you know, there's really no other mechanism for figuring it out,
I
so.
understand that. So,
It's
in
not
my
a-
opinion, we're somewhat at a draw here. So maybe we should wait to
Till Bill
settle this to
decides?
Bill's
Okay.
here next time, and he can
Okay.
hear both sides as well.
Okay.
Um,
Would that work for everybody, or?
yeah, in the meantime, I want to, again, look at exactly what the numbers are here and what it would take. I'm not sure the $100,000 is even close to what it would take to rebuild those. It virtually requires rebuilding them in a different location or reconfiguring the terrain on which they're built now.
So you should talk to John Kuhn,
We
because
have
he's
that
already
estimate.
given us an estimate for
Yeah, I
it.
We
know.
have that estimate.
I've talked to him till I'm blue in the face.
Good
They
luck.
can curtain drain it themselves around it, you know, here.
Well, he has to make it higher, though, to do
Okay,
it,
so we are leaving that till October 11th.
and reconfigure the shape of
All right.
the court. It has to be sloped.
Number 5 is more discussion about the TAP CMAC grant opportunity, the grant application. I'm sorry, for the folks at home, Transportation Alternative Program, that's anything that helps connect people through another means besides automobiles, connecting from one logical place to another, sidewalks, paths, bike lanes, that kind of thing. We've been talking for the last several meetings about the possibility of connecting the high school to Meadow Drive, which ultimately would then provide connectivity to all of the Linden Acres development, and then ultimately, with a safe crossing on Kelly Road, it conceivably could be a connection from Bard, and as you know, we're working on trying to connect Tivoli and Bard in a safer manner as well. So the TAP and CMAC process requires a pre-application. That's essentially a rough description and a rough estimate of potentially dollar costs for a project, so that you can sit down with Department of Transportation, which administers this federal funding, and hash out these ideas and figure out all of your specifics, right-of-way, relocating telephone poles if necessary, so on and so forth. So we have been, Brenda Cagle has been leading the charge, and Sarah and I, and our engineer, Brandy from Crawford, and folks from DOT. Many of them have been in discussions about what are all of the possibilities for connecting the high school to Meadow, and then trying to prove them out and see what would be entailed. We've discussed everything from widening the pavement, which is my very rudimentary drawing here, widening the pavement and having a bike lane on both the north and south directions of Route 199 west, with potentially a curb and a 5-foot sidewalk on the north end of 199 west. And we have looked at whether or not we have enough room. We think we certainly have enough room from right-of-way. The question is, do we have enough room with our telephone poles and our guardrails? And it seems like we might, but that's the kind of thing that DOT would talk to us about and help us ascertain. And that's sort of the easiest, if you will, possibility for providing both pedestrian and bicyclists a connection from those developments to the high school and then ultimately to the village, since we have sidewalks. And then in talking to Brandy at Crawford, she mentioned that TAP is looking for innovative projects, and one of the most innovative solutions potentially could be actually moving the laneways on Route 199 west further south to provide a larger area on the north side, to then have a tree lawn, and then to have a multi-use path. So if you would imagine, you have your roadway, and then you have an 8-foot or so tree lawn, and then you have 8-foot or so paved multi-use path where people can walk, push a stroller, ride a bike. That is potentially an option that would require a lot of cooperation from DOT, but something that we could at least discuss in that pre-application phase, which is essentially 3 weeks. So tonight, we're asking you once again to continue to think about what type of project, how you would like it to look, and what you would like it to accomplish, and authorization to go ahead. I think Brenda is going to be working with Sarah and the folks at DOT. I'll be involved as well in meeting with them to further hash out some of these ideas. And if you have other ideas on how we can accomplish these goals, please do try and share it with us before the end of the week, because the pre-application deadline is actually this Friday, September 30th. So we have in your packets a draft resolution which would be appropriate for the application phase, which we don't have to tackle this evening. We could do a resolution to go out to just have the pre-application for this project and mention all of the possibilities for connecting it, or we can just go ahead and I can ask you for whether you're supportive of having that pre-app meeting with DOT.
We don't have any cost figures yet, though, do we?
We don't, and that's something we'll probably, with Brandy's help, throw into the pre-app application. We'll have to do that, but it will really be a guesstimate. We won't, as a town board, authorize an application for TAP or CMAQ until next month, but this evening it would be nice to have your blessing so we could have a pre-app and sit down with them and say, this is what we want to do. These are some of the ideas that our engineers have helped us articulate. What do you think we could actually realize, and how much would it cost us? And then we can come back to you next month at our October 11th meeting and talk about what the results of that pre-app get-together with DOT were. And then we could have a resolution that looks more like this.
Looking at this, the more desirable configuration is the lower one on this cartoon here, but that goes way beyond the right-of-way.
Cartoon,
We used to call them cartoons.
Yeah, it's well within.
It's well within the right-of-way.
Yeah.
This one is?
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
Yeah,
right-of-way
the-
is shown on the outside, the right-of-way is 60 feet,
Mm-hmm,
according to DOT.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in some cases,
Yeah.
even more than that.
Yeah,
Can I
but
ask a question?
the-
Mm-hmm.
This project is in the state's right away, will the state maintain that pathway?
That's a question in the pre-app. It sounded like when we did the walk with DOT that depending on what we did, they would maintain it. But technically, when you apply for TAP funds, you accept responsibility potentially to maintain it, so
Do you have
that's.
to have an outline of the future maintenance and costs?
Mhm.
Whose
I think so, yeah, so-
responsibility it will be
Yeah.
Yeah,
for this
exactly.
project
Mhm.
Yeah.
ongoing?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's definitely one of the discussions we'll have to have before we do the official,
The right-of-way can't be here
Application.
and here.
yeah.
And
The
they've
edge of the
been helpful
concrete.
already as we bat
The road
around
is
some ideas
here
about
and here.
giving us guidance,
Yeah,
what is more expensive to maintain and
Go
what
with the
is a
right-of-way.
little bit
For
more
instance,
feasible.
does it need to be cleared in the
That
winter?
is kind of sketchy, because
And
Yeah.
who
we usually
is
like 40 to
responsible for doing that
46 feet.
clearing?
Mhm.
Yeah, so depending on the type
Oh,
of
yeah.
path,
Yeah, but
like
that-
if we do
Look,
the shared bike lanes.
isn't starting
If we
in the
did a
same
whole,
place where the
a
position of the
completely
road is.
asphalt
You can't move the road.
project with
Huh?
no, you can't see this
Can't move
drawing,
the
but this
road.
one has a grassy
concrete
strip
road?
between the
One
walking
plans
area
talking
and the
about a lane
biking
shift, and that's a
car
lot
area.
different, yes.
Yeah.
If we did something like that, obviously DOT can't pave that walking area.
I guess if
Same
we
if
get
we do a
started, then we can sit
sidewalk.
down with
So
DOT
either
and
way,
Work
the town
something
will have
out,
to
yeah.
discuss how would we maintain that kind of walking strip if that's what we decide to apply for. But it's also possible, one of the options that we don't have a drawing of right here is just to do further asphalt widening so that there could be like
There
a
is- there is
bike and
room
walk
there to do this.
portion,
Not this.
that's striped it maybe
Yeah.
in a different way, but it's still like contiguous with a complete roadway. That's something that DOT, Jim Rapoli suggested is something that DOT would simply plow with the rest of the roadway, but that's definitely something we'll have to talk about in the pre-application, and that'll be a factor for sure, and the project costs and all the rest of it.
Because right now, the town contracts out all their sidewalks.
Right,
So
yeah,
Yep,
that would be a budget issue for the future.
yep.
yep. Well, shall we do a resolution for a pre-application and give it some sort of broad language and with a cost to be determined, knowing full well that it's just the pre-application? Or shall we just move to go ahead and submit with as many options as possible?
They both sound the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
they are sort of the
Yes,
same,
Robert.
right? All right, well,
I mean,
why
it
don't we
would
do
make sense to go forward.
why don't we do a resolution then?
Yeah.
Resolution number 86, just so we have it on the books. Let's see if we can tweak the language. Resolution authorizing submission of a pre-application for the fiscal year 2017 Transportation Alternatives CMAQ program funding whereas the town of Red Hook as project sponsor will prepare a pre-application for assistance under the Transportation Alternatives CMAQ program for a multimodal sidewalk.
It says multimodal path, and if
Beth?
you're talking multimodal, you wouldn't call it a sidewalk, because you don't bike on a sidewalk.
Right.
Right.
Okay, we'll just leave it multimodal path along Route 199 from Red Hook High School to Meadow Drive with an estimated project cost of TBD. And whereas the proposed project includes construction of a multimodal path and other related work, and the program includes a local match requirement of 20% of the total project costs, and whereas the proposed project is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan and will promote and support economic development of the town, and whereas it is in the best interest of the town of Red Hook to submit a pre-application for fiscal year 2017 Transportation Alternatives CMAQ program funding for the town, the grant pre-application, to fund the proposed project. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Red Hook as follows. The town board hereby authorizes the supervisor, or in his absence, the deputy supervisor, to execute and submit the grant pre-application as project sponsor in a maximum estimated project cost of TBD for the construction of a multimodal path for Route 199 from Red Hook High School to Meadow Drive with a 20% match to be funded by the town as described herein. The officers, employees, and agents of the town are hereby authorized and directed for, and in the name and on behalf of the town, to do all acts and things as may be necessary, or in the opinion of the officer, employee, or agent acting desirable and proper to effect the purposes of the foregoing resolution. This resolution shall take effect immediately, and I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Keep those ideas coming, and drawings too. We have, okay, so discussion on Upper Route 9G Advisory Group, the final recommendations. If you were here or had an opportunity to watch it on Panda, the recommendations were made. This is the final booklet. You can get all the recommendations, by the way, on our town website. The link is on the homepage just to the right. And there are, I don't even know the number of recommendations, but many of which can be accomplished short term. And one of the exciting things about the final presentation is we had the folks here from the county, Bob Balkind, who is soon to be the Commissioner of DPW, and Bob endorsed the idea that the county would positively support a lowering of the speed limit on Route 9G. For those of you who live in our community, you're familiar with the fact that 9G has alternating speed limits, several of them, from Route 199 all the way up and through Tivoli. And so one of the recommendations out of this advisory group is to have a consistent speed limit, and fortunately a speed limit of 45 miles per hour on Route 9G. One of the other recommendations is on the parallel road, which is County Route 103. We refer to it as River Road. One of the recommendations was to lower the speed limit from 40 miles on that scenic and windy road from Barrytown to Annandale to 35 miles an hour. And what came out in the many meetings was that the folks who live in Barrytown and south of Barrytown felt it was important to lower the speed limit also south of Barrytown, where it's actually denser there, and certainly the geometry is equally challenging, if not more so. And Bob also said that he thought the county would positively forward on the recommendation if we were to establish recommendations to lower those speed limits to DOT. And so we've had some discussions. I spoke to the folks in the county and to DOT about whether or not we should recommend to go from 40 to 30 or 40 to 35, which is sort of the default low speed limit for a town road in New York. And we've been sort of guided to think that perhaps the 35 is an easier sell, considering the travel history on those roads, what drivers are willing to drive as far as their speeds. So we have a couple of resolutions making those recommendations, and I didn't know if you all are ready to advance those. I've sent to you just very sort of few samplings of all the folks who live on Route 9G and in Barrytown, who have been communicating with my office about the need to lower the speed limits in those areas. Any thoughts, Sarah?
Hi.
Harry?
I have a couple of suggestions.
Yep.
In the case of Route 103,
Yes.
that should be, the full length of 103 should be the same speed limit from its intersection with 9G all the way to 199 at the bridge.
Well, it almost
right.
is. It almost is.
Yeah, I know, but
It's
to that-
already, the BART portion has been lowered to 25 because the students are walking back and forth.
Okay,
So they have
Um,
a school zone there, they've actually reduced it. It's
Right.
11.5.
okay.
Right, so that's a school zone. The other thing is we're taking that recommendation. We can't recommend a speed limit for another municipality.
No,
So
I'm
this-
not, I didn't really mean that.
Right, so this
It should-
resolution goes all the way to the south of our
Yeah.
town line.
Yeah,
over
which is,
on River
which is
Road.
only feet from 199 down there anyway.
Exactly right.
Mhm.
And it's consistent, the resolutions, I think, are succinct, but they really go into all the reasons why it's appropriate for us to make these recommendations to the county and then ultimately to DOT.
And I also have a suggestion for this one.
Okay?
That the northern terminus of this speed limit shouldn't be the West Curly Corner Road intersection. It should be the county line. The speed limit is 45 miles
Yes.
for about almost half a mile north of Curly Corner Road right now.
Yes, it is, that's right. It should really read something like,
And should go all the way to the county line, I would say.
okay,
Because you want that 45 mile an hour speed limit at the Lasher Road intersection.
So if we said to the town line north of West Curly Corners Road, that would be what you're talking about? To
Well,
the
the-
town line north of West Curly Corners Road. Again, we can only go to this, I mean, I think we.
The county line and the town line are the same.
I understand that, but
Mhm.
it's.
So
town
talk about
right-
your-
199 light to the county line,
Well,
north.
I'm only gonna suggest town
Yeah.
line, 'cause that's our jurisdiction.
Okay,
Right.
that's fine,
That's all I'm saying.
that's fine.
But,
Same thing,
right now, there is a 45 mile an hour speed limit posted there.
yes, and it goes up to the cemetery thereabouts.
Right, it does go all the way to the line.
It doesn't go all the way to the county line, and it does not include Lasher Road
Right.
and Stony Brook, which is kind of an iffy intersection as well.
Right, so you want to just say to the town line period?
Yes.
To West Curly stuff, but you want it to go all the way up?
Yes.
Okay.
so let's modify the resolution, if you're ready to advance these resolutions. I know I am. Sarah, any thoughts? Are you?
Yeah, I was impressed by the amount of public interest and support for these and on many of the other recommendations in the plan. It was great to see the big turnout last Wednesday, and I know there's been a hearty turnout at the other public meetings. I was at the one in Tivoli that was back in maybe June or May, whenever, back in the spring. So I think that there's certainly a lot of public appetite for these recommendations, and this is just us doing our part to further these two recommendations. It doesn't mean once we pass it, it will become official. There'll still be a process at the county, state level, but this is us doing our part to at least start the process.
Right. And it's a good opportunity to remind folks at home, because there are many roads in our community where folks are traveling at high speeds, and the speed limits on those roads are inappropriate for either the geometry or the nature of those roads, and certainly are inappropriate for sharing with pedestrians and with bicyclists. It is ultimately the state who actually tells us, the local municipality, whether or not we can lower one of our own roads. They do their analysis, and they rely on oftentimes the same criteria that they've been relying on for decades. And it may be sort of an outmoded way of looking at things, but we hope to help educate them with the context in many of these cases, so they understand why it may be necessary in those instances to lower the speed limits. And we'll be attempting to tackle many roads in town. And stay tuned, and we want to hear from you about what's happening on your road as well. So, Harry, with that change, are you ready to advance? Jim, I apologize, I didn't ask
Yeah.
you for your opinion.
Yeah, I'm fine with this.
Yeah?
Yep,
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay. So we have resolution number 87, River Road. Okay. Jim, would you like to read that?
Certainly.
Okay.
Resolution requesting modification of speed limit on County Route 103, River Road, from Annandale Road Triangle to the southern town line. Whereas the town of Red Hook has participated in the development of Upper Route 9G corridor management plan, which studied key corridors and intersections of the town. And whereas corridor-wide recommendations for Route 103 include reclassifying the road as a lower volume, lower speed urban minor collector roadway. And whereas the town of Red Hook has noted the need for modification of the speed limit on County Route 103 River Road from the Annandale Triangle near Bard College south to the town line. Taking into account the residential nature of the area served, the proximity of Bard College, the intense pedestrian and bicycle shared use of the roadway, the need for safe pedestrian and bicycle access to Montgomery Place and Poets Walk Park, and the emphasis in the town's comprehensive plan, open space plan, and trail plan on creating pedestrian and bicycle-friendly routes. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Red Hook hereby requests that the Commissioner of Dutchess County Department of Public Works take all steps necessary to provide for the reduction of the speed limit on County Route 103 River Road from the Annandale Road Triangle near Bard College to the southern town line from 40 miles per hour to 35 miles per hour. So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all very much. I know we have taken the first step in relieving some anxiety for many folks in that area. Resolution number 88, Harry, this is 9G.
Okay.
Okay, since we're gonna modify this language a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
I did it on, I
On
already
your
did it
copy?
here.
Oh,
Harry, could I suggest that you say on Route 9G from Route 199 north to the town line?
And I wrote, to the northern town line.
Okay. All right.
Is that all right? Which I changed my, okay.
Sounds good to me.
Resolution 88. dated September 28th of 2016, resolution requesting modification of speed limit on Route 9G from Route 199 to the northern town line. Whereas the town of Red Hook has participated in the development of the upper Route 9G corridor management plan, which studied key corridors and intersections in the town. And whereas the corridor-wide recommendations for Route 9G include reduction of the speed limit to 45 miles per hour throughout the entire road segment studied. And whereas the town of Red Hook has noted the need for modification of the speed limit on Route 9G from Route 199 to the northern town line, including intersections taking into account the residential nature of the area served, the more densely populated community, the many driveway entrances and road entrances, Bard College's 3 entrance routes, the increasing number of drivers, pedestrians, and bicyclists visiting the Bard campus, the Performing Arts Center, and other local attractions who are unfamiliar with the area, and shared use of roads by bicycles and pedestrians. And now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Red Hook hereby requests that the Commissioner of the Dutchess County Department of Public Works and the New York State Department of Transportation take all steps necessary to provide for the reduction of the speed limit on Route 9G from Route 199 to the northern town line, including intersections, from 55 miles per hour to 45 miles per hour for the entire length of the corridor. And I so move.
Second.
Oh, Sarah beat me
Sorry.
to it. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Special thanks to all the folks from the county and the state who worked on that plan and were very sensitive to our issues. We have item number 7, which is a resolution essentially indicating that we've appropriated the funds to complete the current sidewalk project on Route 9 South. Chris, do you want to give us the technical on this one?
Me?
Yes.
Sure. So this is a resolution suspension in the form that, that DOT has provided. And before they will enter into the contract with us, they need to know that you've appropriated the funds necessary to complete the project, the entire project. And then you have your contractor to provide for reimbursement of the federal and state share, and you have your local share, which I'm not sure I have the budget sitting here, but your budget, your actual outlay was
20%, the total cost.
20% of the total, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So this gets you through the construction inspection and construction supervision, that extension of the grant. If you recall, we did this resolution originally just for the design portion of the project, because we weren't sure exactly what the total was going to end up at.
Right. Okay, well, it's a very lengthy resolution, so I don't know that necessarily we have to read it, but the highlights of it are, and it's resolution number 89. It's authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance of 100% of the federal aid and state Marcaselli program aid, eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project, and appropriating funds therefore. Little typo there. No.
So therefore.
There we go. Whereas a project for Red Hook, New York State Route 9 pedestrian improvements, Town of Red Hook, Dutchess County, PIN 876124, the project is eligible for funding under Title 23 U.S. Code, as amended, that calls for apportionment of the cost, such program to be borne at the ratio of 80% federal funds and, 20% non-federal funds. And I'll summarize. The town desires to advance the project by making the commitment of its share, which is the non-federal share, and resolve that the town board authorizes the town of Red Hook to pay, in the first instance, 100% of the federal and non-federal share of the cost. So essentially, we pay it, and then we ask for reimbursement. And it's resolved that the sum of $701,250 is hereby appropriated from the DB fund balance. Well, I think it should be the DB fund. And fund balance, unreserved, and made available to cover the cost of participation in the above phase of the project. It says in the event that the amount exceeds the amount appropriated, that the town shall convene and appropriate any additional funds. And then it's the usual recitals at the end. So I would like to move that we approve resolution number 89. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, we are on we're on board reports. I'm wondering if we could do the water board report. We are joined by Hank Van Paris, our incredible water board chairman, and we have a request in there as well. It's in your packet, folder number 9, towards the back. We have a water system operator, and Hank, did you want to say something about renewing the contract with them?
Only that we're very happy with the current operator. How long he's going to be with us, you never know, but
Right.
he's a very good man.
Okay.
Great to work with, very competent.
Okay.
And he lives in the village, so it's
Okay.
handy.
So
Responsive.
we've got great service. We've got a local company. That's great. This is resolution number 90. It's authorizing the renewal of the agreement for professional services. And I am wondering, Sarah, would you like to read it?
Excuse me.
Bless you, Harry.
This is resolution number 90, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Resolution number 90, authorizing the renewal of the agreement for professional services for the water system operator in Water District Number 1 between the town of Red Hook and VRI Environmental Services Incorporated. Whereas an agreement for professional services dated January 1, 2016 was entered into between the town of Red Hook and VRI Environmental Services, Inc. for a term of 1 year with an option for up to 3 additional 1-year renewal terms. And whereas the Water Board has recommended that the town exercise its option to renew the agreement for a 1-year renewal from January 1, 2017 to December 31st, 2017. And whereas such renewal is hereby determined to be in the best interest of the town and Water District Number 1, now therefore it be resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook as follows: that the Supervisor Robert McKeon, or in his absence the Deputy Supervisor, is hereby authorized and directed to give notice of election to renew the agreement with VRI Environmental Services, Inc. for a 1-year period from January 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2017. And this resolution shall take effect immediately, and I so move.
Thank you, Sarah. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And for the folks at home, we, under this contract, we pay a water operator, system operator, and this contract calls for an annual cost of $20,160 for that professional service. Okay, any further comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Hank, as always. And we have a water board report in here as well, is that correct?
I have one.
You have
Yeah.
one? Okay. Jim, would you like to read it?
Yep, it's just the usual operational report that Hank provides to us every month. Everything seems to be running well.
Just, we had a glitch the last
Okay.
couple of weeks. Well, two quit. Turns out the wires at the top of the pump were fried. They were just burned to a crisp. So they pulled the pump, just to see if that was the problem. The pump is good, the motor is good, so the repair people think it might have been a lightning strike.
No?
They had to replace the wires because we lost enough of the wires that they couldn't reuse them. But we're
How far-
lucky,
How far down do they hang? They're like 10 feet off the bottom or something, Hank?
something like that.
Yeah.
And everything's working, functioning fine now?
Yep, back online,
Okay.
so we're good.
We escaped it,
A little bad luck, but it could have been a lot worse.
yeah.
Now, that wasn't the rehab well, was it?
No, that was the
So
other.
those wires have been there a long time,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
since 2010,
2010?
yeah.
Okay.
So,
But everything else in the report seems pretty good. Both pumps, and it's the second, we rehabbed the second time, it's been fine, hasn't it?
yeah, the nice thing about that rehab is the guy did the rehab last year. And it operated fine for a week or two, and then we started pumping air. And we paid him, because, he gave it his best effort, and you can't guarantee something like that, really, you can't. But he, I guess, thinking about it, his conscience bothered him. He came back up at his own expense and did the rehab in a different manner, and it's been working fine. So, he's a good guy.
Okay.
That is good. That's the way you look hard when we have to do it again, something
Yes.
like that.
He was here last week.
Everything else, everything else report looks fine as usual, Hank, yep.
I think so, yeah,
And
in good shape.
the water tank inspection is gonna be done this following year, next 17th. Filters are fine, chlorine residual's fine.
Yeah, all the tests are fine.
Okay.
Before you go on from water, there's another item under the, in your packet.
Oh. Yeah.
Where is that?
The vault,
Yeah.
down at the end, or halfway down Willowbrook, where we interconnect the village and the town, a couple of valves were leaking. I had gotten an estimate from our guys to fix them, and then I was looking over our agreement with the village. And the agreement states that any repairs will be done by the village, and then we will share the cost, so. Mayor Blundell agreed with that, and the repairs are completed, we just haven't seen a bill.
Okay, and that's in our correspondence folder if you're shuffling like I was. Right, and that's something they alerted us to a few months back, yes.
I don't know who spotted or who detected it.
I think it was their engineer, actually,
Could be.
who did. Yeah.
So
Okay.
the village repaired it, but they haven't sent us the 50-cent bill yet.
Okay. Very good. So back to board reports. Thank you very much, Hank, as always. Good job. We have the Zoning Board of Appeals. Sarah, would you like to report on that?
Sure.
Maybe summarize?
Yeah,
that?
I'll just summarize it.
Okay.
So there were two appeals before the board this month. The first one was a public hearing for Fred Cartier, who had an application for an area variance to erect a fence that was 6 feet in height within the 35-foot setback. So the public hearing had no comments, and the board discussed the situation and decided to propose two options to the applicant, that he could either move the current non-compliant fence back to the grandfathered 24-foot setback, which would reduce the fenced area by about 25%, or he could reduce the fence height by, to 4 feet in the non-compliant areas and plant trees or bushes for which there is no height limit, thereby maintaining his stated need for privacy without sacrificing footage within the fenced area. There was one dissenting opinion, and so the board and the applicant decided to table the discussion until their next meeting on October 12th to give the applicant time to review those options. And the second appeal was Linda Dunkley with an application for an area variance to construct a cottage 5 feet from the side yard lot line, and that's on Old Route 199. So basically there was a old pole barn that the question was whether it ought to be defined by a cottage because defined as a cottage because it included a composting toilet and a kitchen, and in the end the applicant decided to withdraw her appeal and just leave it as a home office is how they're defining it, I guess. So I think it sounds like that one's done. Actually, no, she's not ready. Okay, yeah, so she has withdrawn her appeal. And then finally, the board unanimously adopted the escrow guidelines using the language that we adopted back in May 2015. And those guidelines are attached for anybody who's interested. But it talks about the escrow deposit and the policy for replenishment and final settlement of those guidelines. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Jim, there's a planning board report.
Yes, there is. Planning board met once in September. They continued to review the following projects. The proposal subdivide a 29.64 acre parcel into 3 lots, 19.123, 5.047, and 5.470 acres in size on Cedar Drive and Birchwood Overlook Drive in the R1.5 district. In other words, a minor subdivision. And then the other one was a site plan application to demolish an existing building and construct a 1,540 square foot, story-and-a-half new building at an existing nursery school and related parking improvements on the 1.2 acre parcel located at 208 Rockefeller Lane, and that's in the R15 district as well. That's Funshine Nursery School.
Okay, thank you very much, Jim. We're now on to, I think, department reports. And we have a police department report, which normally Bill reads, and I'd be happy to try to summarize. We have, this is the report for August, and it lists 2 disorderly conducts, 3 domestic disputes, 3 DWIs, 3 harassments, accidents, 2 fatal, 1 personal injury, 4 property damage, more animal complaints, controlled substance, there are a few, bunch of medical emergencies that they respond to as well, property noise complaint, B&T. So there's a total of 79 incidents, 7 arrests, and 34 tickets issued.
Could I just jump in for a second?
Sure.
Because we don't have a dog control report this month, but I did talk to the, this is related to police report, hang in there with me, but I did talk to DCSPCA about making sure that we get provided with those on a monthly basis, so they'll be doing that in the future. But with the animal complaint report, you also may have heard from Sergeant Hildenbrand that the police feel that they're handling more cases than they have in the past because our current animal control officer only is on operation until 5 p.m. and so then any loose dogs or other issues kind of remain unresolved until the next morning. So that's something we're going to have to look at addressing, and there's a few different ideas for that I've been talking to people about. So hopefully maybe by next month we'll have a few options to talk about. But I just want to address that now while we're talking about the animal complaint
Okay.
portion of that report, since there is no other animal control report for this month.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for handling the dog issues. We know that's not always fun. We have some building and zoning stats to report, Jim?
Yep. Would you like me to read them?
Sure, just maybe the stats would be fine.
Yep. This is the monthly report that ended September 27th. There were 22 permits issued, 28 inspections, 18 COCCs, 4 complaints followed up, and a revenue for the, permits and so on of $5,448.50.
Rose, I was just about to get to budget report, but yours is very brief.
Yes.
Catch you on the way out as soon as I get it. And Sue is gonna hand it to me to save time. Rose Ryder, Budget Officer. The budget process for 2017 began in August with the distribution of budget requests to the departments. Meetings began last week and continue into next week. The committees have begun to send in their requests. Process will then continue on to schedule to put the information together. In fact, that's August report, and as you and I both know, we've just about completed our work together.
The next phase.
The next phase.
Even the supervisor and the business and pieces.
Right.
And so that phase is pretty well completed.
Yep.
And I'll be meeting with Ann to help put together the binders for the board very shortly. And I think our first meeting, board meeting is scheduled for
October 5th? October 5th with the board. Thank you very much, Rose. We're hours away from submitting it to the town clerk. And couldn't do it without all your help, meeting with the departments. That's really sort of the critical foundation to find out what their needs are. So, thank you again. All right, good night. No, I think we're pretty good. Let's see, did we have a resolution and correspondence that we sort of tackled that? No? I think we're pretty good. Thank you very much, Chris. Harry, we have a report here on purchasing. Would you like to do that?
Yes. The purchasing report for the month it looks like it's fairly active. The parking lot has been completed. We're still working on trying to figure out how to have put in place a gate which will be can be automatically operated. The phone system, I believe, was replaced and finished today.
It was replaced. We're still getting trained, and they'll be back again tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have the latest in telephones.
Mhm.
We've completed the installation of a TV in the conference room, so that we have high-tech facility for the purposes of meetings. Janelli Security is looking into updating our fire alarm system, and the tree clearing, I believe, has been completed at the water district right away up to the cell tower and the water tank.
Okay. We have a recreation report. Harry, is there a chance that you could just give us maybe a couple of headlines?
Yeah,
Only
there's been-
because it's
Yeah,
8 pages long.
I would say, yes. In lieu of staying here all night to read it, I would say that generally, John has been working on closing up the park for the fall, and in the process has upgraded and spent a lot of time, put a lot of effort into the baseball fields, believe it or not, to get them ready for next year. The infields have been rebuilt. There's been the appropriate kind of clay added to the baselines. There's been topsoil added, grass planted, and come the spring, we will be competing with the Yankees with what the fields look like. But it was a lot of work, and it takes a lot of work every year. So he has completed that, and many other projects within the rec park.
Yep, very good. Thank you, Harry. And I note, he mentions in the rec commission meeting that they've got the estimates now to have some recycling containers there. I think it's important that we, as a board, go ahead and fund that and be good stewards and recycle all the items that are deposited there at a rec facility. Okay, we have senior services, Robert to report. Okay. Committee met on the 28th of September, and we have a couple of new members interested in joining, Phyllis Stelling and Yvonne Fox, and we're happy to hear that. Thank you for joining. The main topic of the meeting was programming for the new Red Hook Community Center over on Fisk Street, and they brainstormed some programming activities. And let's see, talking about communicating to seniors about the fact that they are developing those programs. And the next meeting is set for October 26th at 9:15 a.m. in Town Hall. And you do not need to be a senior to be interested in joining that committee. They would like you to know. We also have a survey on the town website for seniors relating to trying to meet your needs here in our community. We have a tree commission report, Sarah.
Okay, so we've got two months worth. In August, the committee completed placing 10-year Tree City stickers to the Tree City stickers to the 4 town portals. And they worked on their plans for Hardscrabble Day. They ordered their trees for the fall planting and obtained necessary permits for their plan to do a tree planting in Upper Red Hook. And they plan for 7 trees to be planted next month, and they completed their budget request. Then in September, they continued their plans for the Upper Red Hook project, and they did their prep work for the Upper Red Hook site with stump removal and some regrading. And they approved an expenditure for daffodil bulbs for the Upper Red Hook site and did a pruning update and continued discussion about appropriate trees for the new town hall parking lot.
Okay, thank you very much.
Busy, busy.
Bill's not here. Just a quick recap of the Intermunicipal Task Force has been meeting, discussing several issues, a special report on drive-through and formula businesses. It's also continuing to discuss the uses allowed in the Waterfront Conservation District, which is that district along both the river and our streams within the township. They're reviewing and comparing use regulations in the B1 and B2 districts, especially as it relates to the business district that is adjacent to the Upper Red Hook Hamlet. They had a presentation to them by Dennis Colley of what might be a first pass as a draft suggested solar energy law, which would incorporate not only our individual systems, but begin to talk about where we might allow larger scale systems. Any other committee reports? Have I missed any? There's no ag and open space. I don't believe they've met.
There's a CAC report if you want it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we not do that? Yeah, the CAC report, Sarah.
Yeah, the CAC report from Chair Lori Husted is that the CAC completed their bike pedestrian counts for the Poughkeepsie Dutchess County Transportation Council. They do these annually, and it's information that will be that'll be used to better understand how people walk and bike and how many people are walking and biking all throughout the county. Those results will be viewable online. Maybe when we have them, we can post them on the town website. They discussed a possible application for an electric vehicle charging station. That'd be like a grant application if they pursue it. And they talked about attending Energy Democracy Alliance sessions and working on solar zoning. That was that same report from Denny Collet that you referenced in the Intermunicipal Task Force report. And because the CAC had talked in the previous meeting about applying for various grants for recycling containers for the town rec park, they began that discussion with John Kuhn, and then he came back with a plan for how the rec commission could, provide those using town funds. So the committee expressed appreciation for John Kuhn's efforts to get the recycling bins at the rec park. And the update on the solarized numbers from our campaign that ended over the summer is that there were at least 80 plus residential installations, so that's good news. And finally, I'll just reiterate what the announcement that Robert had earlier, that October 29th is a Dutchess County Household Hazardous Waste Day and Electronics Recycling event in Poughkeepsie. And the registration for that is $10, so there's lots of info on the web for that. I think maybe we have something on the town website, I don't know.
We do.
Do we do?
We do.
Yeah, we usually do, so.
We will double check to make sure though.
And I think they did discuss, it's not in the report, but they discussed, talking to the county about again holding one that was a little closer to home, maybe next year. I think they used to do a lot in different parts of the county at different parts of the year. I think they've kind of
Yes.
pulled back on that, but maybe, if we could kind of pull together with some other northern Dutchess towns and advocate for one that was maybe at the fairgrounds or, somewhere just a little closer, that would be good. So stay tuned, hopefully we'll be able to do that.
I hope so, because I think it's a little bit far to ask people to drive down to Poughkeepsie with hazardous material.
Yeah.
But, okay, very good. And so does that conclude our committee and board reports? If so, let's move on to correspondence. We have correspondence from the IRS, not to worry. It is simply that they received our tax exempt bond information from our refinancing that we did a few months ago, and that's correspondence to that effect. There's a letter from Andrew Kerr, who is the chair of our Senior Services Committee, to John Kuhn for thanking him for the use of our rec facility for a special event, Give a Child a Meal food drive. And I know Linda Kuhn was involved in collecting, as well as some of our younger residents here in town volunteered for the food drive efforts. Westchester Medical Center is letting us know that they are doing some expansion within their facilities in Port Jervis and in Kingston communities, $170 million to upgrade their services. Bard College, Paul Marienthal, if you remember a few months back, he brought us a really wonderful group of international students, and he writes to us to thank us for that evening, although quite frankly I think we got more out of it than they did. It was really very uplifting. We have word from our commissioner, Dutchess County Planning, Owen Rafter. There's an RFP going out now for some funding, the Partnership for Manageable Growth Program projects. If you remember, this is the program that assists us with matching funding for preserving open space and farmland, and they're asking whether or not we have any potential projects, and the applications need to be submitted by December 5th, 2016. I do expect in my discussions with some of the village representatives that they will be applying to this program to help assist financially their efforts to establish a sewer in the business district. So for this cycle, if we don't have another project, we may want to think about supporting their application to lower the cost of putting in that business district. We have some letter that I don't know why is in here from Ted Coetzee. And then lastly, I just wanted to, before we get to our final public comment or close the meeting, just let you know that I had the privilege to go to the annual United Way event where they honor individuals. This is the United Way of Dutchess County and Orange County. It's a combined organization, and they honor individuals who have been instrumental in their organization and volunteering and raising money, which then ultimately gets passed on to other agencies and organizations to help folks. And it was it was an enormously well-attended event, and really rather eye-opening. It was sort of heartbreaking to find out just how many kids are, for example, in our schools are on free lunch programs. I think one of the stats I heard that was really, very difficult to hear was in Newburgh, in the last school year, that would be 15 to 16, there were 880 children who at some point during the course of the year were homeless, who were attending the schools. So there's a great need out there, and certainly the United Way and all the partner organizations are doing what they can. And the reason I raise this is because this year they were honoring Michael Gilfeather, who is Jack's oldest son, I believe, and he's a Red Hook resident. And I thought we should take the opportunity to recognize his contribution, even though he no longer lives in Red Hook. He's on the other side of the river. He is still doing great things for the community. So I have a resolution, if it's okay, I'd like to read and ask for your support and your signature, and maybe we could pass it on to Michael. It's a Town of Red Hook resolution honoring Michael J. Gilfeather, Dutchess Orange United Way Community Champion 2016. Whereas Michael J. Gilfeather serves as President and CEO of Orange Bank and Trust Company and Orange County Bank Corp., bringing 35 years of banking experience to his leadership position. And whereas he was Chief Administrative Officer and Executive Vice President of Hudson Valley Bank, and whereas Michael was part of the team responsible for Hudson Valley Bank's growth and transformation into a $2.6 billion 28-branch banking operation, and whereas he served as senior manager for all retail banking in Manhattan with the Bank of New York for 20 years, and whereas he currently serves on the board of the Orange Regional Medical Center Foundation, the Orange County Partnership, and Hudson Valley Investment Advisors, Inc., and whereas Michael was born, raised in Red Hook, New York, a graduate of Red Hook Central Schools, now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Red Hook, together with the Town Board, acknowledge and commend Michael for his continued work leading numerous organizations and United Way campaigns over the years, and for his dedicated work as a volunteer in Dutchess and Orange counties, where his support and generosity have and continue to make a positive impact on these communities. For this, we sincerely congratulate Michael on being chosen 2016 United Way of Dutchess Orange Regional Community Champion, dated September 28, 2016, and it has our names on it. So once again, congratulations, Michael. The Gilfeathers, obviously, he wouldn't have turned out to be such a great guy if it wasn't for all your efforts, and we we like to recognize our homegrown folks who go on to do lots of great things for other people. And I should tell you also, there are a few towns that are working with the United Way. I don't know how they're doing it, maybe organizing events or whatever. If that's something we might consider someday, it might be nice to do. And certainly, as I said earlier, there's a great need out there in the Hudson Valley for assistance for children and for families. So, that said, do we have any other business to conduct tonight, Harry?
No?
Okay, it's 9:15, not too bad considering we had a rather lengthy agenda. Jim, anything else?
Nope, I'm set.
All right, very good. Sarah?
Nope.
Thank you all, and thank you very much for watching. I would like to call this meeting to a conclusion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.